So, welcome to Talking Hymns with Shane and Tim. We've taken a week off, but this week we're coming back with a very interesting hymn. Now, you and I both know, but others out there might not know, this is the 250th anniversary of the birth of Beethoven. And so, we're going to actually be doing a hymn that has taken a piece of Beethoven's music and put it to some lyrics. Joyful, joyful, we adore thee. And so, that's what we're going to do on this week's Talking Hymns with Shane and Tim. So this week, joyful, joyful, we adore thee. We Presbyterians. Now, I didn't grow up Presbyterian. You didn't grow up Presbyterian, but this is what we claim home right now. Is we can be proud because we have a Presbyterian minister who did the lyrics for the song. Can you tell me a little bit about this?
Probably not. I just know that he was a Presbyterian minister and fancied himself quite a poet, and so he was impressed with the melody for this particular hymn, which came from a Beethoven symphony, and wrote some words to it and sent it off to somebody who was Benson, who was publishing a hymn book, I think, wanted him to maybe include it in it. And lo and behold, they started communicating, and evidently Van Dyke had to do quite a few revisions before it was put in the hymnal. But yeah, it's another home run for Presbyterians.
Yeah. So what we're talking about specifically is the Ode to Joy section from Beethoven's Ninth Symphony. And I know you and I have talked about this. Many other famous composers did write music occasionally for congregational singing, or at least requiems and things of that sort, but that wasn't really Beethoven's jam. He was not into writing for that specifically.
He wrote two major sacred works. One was a mass, Missa Solemnis, which, the text of the Catholic Requiem Mass mostly. And then I think it's Christ on the Mount of Olives, a sort of oratorio cantata kind of thing. But yeah, by and large, not a hymn writer for sure. And this was just extracted from that Ninth Symphony. Again, Van Dyke thought it was just the perfect propulsion for a good text, a lively text.
Yeah, and it sounds like from what I read that this was a hymn that really rose out of an emotional response to that section of the Ninth Symphony in particular. But the other part of it was the idea that we would go into nature, that we would experience nature, and our fundamental response would just be joy. And you can hear that certainly in the melody. You see that reflected in the lyrics of this. Yeah.
Well, and in the original text, I had to go back up, and of course it was in German, and there are translations out there. But when I started reading it, I thought, first of all, when you do that symphony, the choral and soloists part, which is the fourth movement, they have to sit on that stage and look interested for a long time. And they're all thinking, boy, I hope I sound good when it's finally my turn. But the way it begins, the bass just says, like after all these other three movements, it says, not these sounds, people. Let's make some other sounds. And then they start this Ode to Joy by Schiller, which basically people have accused even the hymn of Joyful, Joyful of being too universalist. It just talks about the joy of creation and the daughters of Elysium. And it's pretty just naturalistic, but he does bring God in. Schiller does bring God in the end, like let's praise God for all these joyous beauties of the earth. And
so help me out with Schiller. What you're saying, Schiller.
Schiller is the man that wrote the text
of Beethoven's
called Ode to Joy. That was the original lyrics. In fact, I can give you
the original lyrics for the Ninth Symphony.
Yeah, it sort of goes like, joy, beautiful spark of divinity, daughter from Elysium, we enter, burning with fervor. Heavenly being, your sanctuary, your magic brings together what custom has sternly divided. All men shall become brothers, wherever your gentle wings hover. Okay. I mean, it goes on and on, but it's not a hymn, that's for sure.
Now, this just occurred to me in this moment as I was thinking about the relative lack of complexity in the melody itself. It reminds me a little bit of "A Mighty Fortress Is Our God" in the sense that it's a very there's no syncopation, and of course there's not a lot. Well, I guess okay. Yes, I'm sorry, I crossed the line.
The last line.
You're right. I'm thinking of the first, joyful, joyful.
Yeah, it's very
yes
on the
Whereas,
beat.
A mighty fortress. It's got a little bit of that, bombasticness,
marchy kind of sound.
Yes, yeah. And I'm wondering if that was, I wonder if that was just sort of a known musical trope.
Well, not necessarily. Though that kind of a setting is almost always resigned to being one of those affirmative kinds of let's get out of our seats and do something positive kind of hymns, because the rhythm is so driving.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, here it is. So we're back. Could you tell us a little bit about this week's take on this wonderful melody?
I just found this really nice, particularly nice postlude that I've used here at Hillsborough several times. And it doesn't mess with the melody. It does take a little, I'm trying to think of the term, but there's like an introduction with a motif, then a phrase of joyful, joyful, then another smattering of that same theme, then another phrase of joyful, joyful. It's like bloop, hymn, bloop, hymn, bloop, hymn. And it's really kind of positive and fun. Nothing mysterious about it. I just think it's a nice setting. And it does modulate. I think anytime you can modulate to a new key, it makes your hair rise.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, well, here it is.